The first thing to consider when discussing migration from monolith to microservices is why, in fact, would we want to do that? Why would we take a perfectly good working system and tear it apart? There must be a very good reason for that. Well, it turns out there is, although we can argue about how actually good it is. So let's review some of the reasons for breaking monolith to microservices. First, to shorten the update cycle. We already talked countless times about this attribute of microservices, and this is probably the major factor in any decision to go to microservices, whether with a new system or with an existing one. Updating monolith is always a real pain, and usually quite a slow process. Microservices bring to the table the promise of short and efficient update cycles, often bringing it down from once in a few months to multiple times in a single day. When a monolith system requires frequent changes, migrating to microservices is definitely a logical step. Another aspect often discussed about microservices is the modularization of the system. As you probably remember, the first attribute of microservices is componentization via services, or in other words, let's make the system as modular as possible. This makes the system much easier to maintain and much more flexible for future requirements. One of the major factors in moving to microservices is to save costs. Now, to understand this reason, we first need to understand what costs can be saved by moving to microservices. Well, actually, there are two types of costs involved here. The first one is the software and the hardware costs. Monolith legacy apps are often based on outdated, expensive technology. Today's platforms are mostly open and free and do not incur ongoing costs, while other platforms might require support contract or even upfront payment. By moving to more modern platform, the organization can save costs, and by doing this with microservices, the move can be gradual and more manageable. Another type of cost is the HR costs. As we saw before, legacy systems often come with large, bloated development teams. These large teams naturally cost a lot, and the organization might want to move to smaller, more efficient teams. Another reason for moving to microservices is to modernize the system. Legacy monolith apps are often based on old technologies that are out of support or close to that, and the organization would like to modernize its technology stack. The microservices way is a good way of doing that, since the change is theoretically gradual and managed and allows modern technologies to be integrated into the system in an effective way. This leads to the last reason we will discuss, which is being attractive. Organizations want to be able to attract top developers in the industry, and it's quite a difficult task if the technological environment is outdated. Developers will always prefer a workplace with modern, shiny technologies and architectures, and microservices definitely check the box here. True, this reason is not a pure professional one, but, well, we are all humans with feelings and desires, and it definitely plays a role in our decision making. Okay, so these are the major reasons behind migrating to microservices, and now let's see how this migration should be done.